I hereby call to the order the Board of Directors meeting of the New Jersey Transit Corporation, the New Jersey Rail Operation, Inc., New Jersey Transit Bus Operation, Inc., New Jersey Transit Mercer, Inc., and New Jersey Transit Morris, Inc.
Good morning. Please mute your phones and turn your attention to the public safety announcement.
At New Jersey Transit, your safety is our highest priority. Please listen to these safety instructions in case of an emergency. In an emergency, announcements will be made over the loudspeaker or by a uniformed police officer. The primary exit for this location is the stairwell adjacent to the elevators, which can be located by exiting the boardroom and proceeding through the glass doors. There is a second alternate staircase that can be accessed through the door at the front of this room to the right behind the board dais. New Jersey Transit Police will administer CPR and use the defibrillator located near the elevator if necessary. Fire extinguishers are located in the front and back of this room. Please be guided by the directions of the New Jersey Transit Police and staff. As a reminder, members of the public are not permitted to approach the dais and should only share board meeting materials with New Jersey Transit staff at the reception desk. Thank you and have a safe day.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now take roll call. Board Member Abrantes?
Here.
Board Member Brown? Here. Board Member Morocco?
Here.
Board Member Medina?
Here.
Board Member Nara? Board Member Thomas?
Here.
Board Member Weiss? Board Member Caniff?
Here.
Board Member Cruz?
Here.
Vice Chair Carson?
Here.
Chair O'Connor?
Here.
For the record, Board Members Medina and Caniff are participating remotely. This is a meeting of the New Jersey Transit Corporation and its affiliates and subsidiaries. Adequate notice has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and NJ Transit's enabling legislation. Notice was filed on April 4th, 2024, with the Secretary of State and sent to newspapers of general distribution, posted in the main entrance of NJ Transit's headquarters, published on the corporation's website, and sent to each individual, agency, and organization that requested such notice.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the March 12th, 2024 board meeting?
Second.
Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Abrantes?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss? Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
President and CEO Corbett will present the President's and CEO's monthly report.
And thank you. Good morning, Chair and members of the board, and good morning to all the members of the public joining us both here in person and online. As usual, I'll open with an update on service and planning before I get into our budget and other organizational updates. Following February's announcement that MetLife Stadium will host the 2026 FIFA World Cup final, along with 7 additional World Cup matches, I'm pleased to note that NJ Transit's advanced planning, strategy, and preparations for accommodating this international event are already well underway. On March 22nd, I was pleased to participate in a panel discussion at the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce MDES Tourism Conference to discuss the multifaceted logistical preparations and infrastructure enhancements necessary for the World Cup events. There I covered our advancing Secaucus Meadowlands Transitway project, our success moving hundreds of thousands of customers to and from MetLife Stadium over the past 4 years, and all the ways we are closely collaborating with the FIFA 2026 World Cup Host Committee and many other external stakeholders, including UITP and Rutgers-Kate. Not only to ensure the transportation component of the games sets a new standard of excellence for a global event like the World Cup, but also to ensure that the incredible opportunity brings sustained social, economic, cultural, and public transportation benefits to New Jersey after the games are over. As we plan for one of the most high-profile events in New Jersey's history, we also remain focused on encouraging the use of public transportation to increase ridership. To that end, I'm pleased to note that we have launched a new spring ridership campaign. Beginning March 27th and running through April 30th, NJ Transit is offering several promotional discounts through our Spring Forward with Savings deal, which allows customers to receive a free round-trip ticket for a traveling companion with the purchase of a round-trip ticket. For additional benefits and more information, please visit njtransit.com/spring. As part of this campaign and to support one of America's favorite pastimes that is synonymous with spring, I'm looking to see if Larry's out there. NJ Transit has a webpage listing all the way that we can take you out to the ball game. Baseball fans can visit njtransit.com/baseball for a listing of major and minor league teams in our region, some of which are even NJT reward partners, such as the Trenton Thunder and Somerset Patriots, along with all the public transit options to get you to the game. While we are planning for historic events like the World Cup and working to build ridership back to pre-pandemic levels, it's never been more important to ensure that NJ Transit has sufficient, stable, and predictable funding for the short and long-term needs for all our services and customers. Tomorrow and on April 15th, I will testify at the Senate and Assembly budget hearings in Trenton, along with our board chair and acting NJDOT Commissioner Fran O'Connor. This will be my 7th time testifying before the Senate and Assembly budget committees since I joined NJ Transit in 2018, and this year's testimony will cover our strategy for both ensuring NJ Transit's financial stability for FY25, as well as preparing for the growth to meet future demands, which we see as akin to a three-legged stool. The first leg is our ongoing internal efforts to drive efficiencies and maximize cost savings and non-fare box revenues. The second leg is to solve for the immediate need for our FY25 operating budget gap of $106.6 million through the fare adjustment proposal the Board of Directors will consider later this morning. While a fare increase is always an option of last resort, and we recognize the impact an increase of any size has on all our customers, I remain strongly committed to ensure that the overall service levels are not reduced through FY25. The third and arguably most critical leg is to solve the long-term funding needs for FY26 and beyond, which would be achieved by Governor Murphy's proposed corporate transit fee to provide NJ Transit with a stable and predictable funding. This will not only maintain the status quo, but will allow us to plan for service expansion where demand is continuing to grow in what is the most densely populated state in the nation with a population that is continuing to grow. Together, these measures form a comprehensive financial strategy that allows us to take multi-year looks ahead, ensuring NJ Transit is primed for sustainable service improvements and strategic planning long into the future. Moving on to infrastructure, as we work to shore up and solidify our physical future, we remain committed to improving and expanding our infrastructure to meet the demands of a growing New Jersey. Toward that end, I am pleased to note that bids for the second phase of our Brick Church Station project open on April 4th. This contract is for the interior renovation and restoration of the station house and includes improvements to the customer amenities such as refurbished bathrooms, new climate control, lighting, security features, and improved ADA compliant accessibility. Incidentally, Brick Church is a perfect example of a profound impact that transit-oriented development can have on a community and its economic development. Thanks to DOD, for anybody who rides along the M&E, you'll see that it's now, compared to even 4 or 5 years ago, you can no longer barely see the Brick Church at Brick Church Station anymore as you're going through with all the development that's gone around that. I would also say we're also similarly continuing to advance our largest resiliency project, the Raritan River Bridge. Bids for this project's second contract, mainly consists of the lift bridge and the flanking spans, opened on March 27th, and we expect to award that contract early in the third quarter of this year. This is well timed as we anticipate the completion of the Raritan River Bridge's first $248 million contract, the approach spans. They expect those to be finished in the fourth quarter of this year. As we continue to aggressively advance these and more than 60 other active infrastructure projects, we're also expanding our focus on technology to improve every aspect of our customer experience. I'm pleased to note that NJ Transit has been awarded a $1.6 million grant from US DOT for the implementation of artificial intelligence-based systems designed to improve safety at light rail grade crossings. The project, which NJ Transit will undertake in collaboration with Rutgers University Center for Advanced Infrastructure and Transportation, or Rutgers CATE as we call it, focus on reducing pedestrian and vehicle strikes by providing critical safety data laying the groundwork for community-driven safety solutions. The final stage involves prototyping AI-powered technology, including stationary cameras at 5 grade crossings and forward-facing cameras on a Hudson Bergen light rail vehicle to improve safety and inform future mass transit infrastructure enhancements. This technology will leverage deep learning AI algorithms and edge computing to analyze real-time video data for safety monitoring, moving towards wider implementation across 50 grade crossings and additional light rail vehicles to bolster safety, reduce delays, and expand safe transportation access across the state. NJ Transit is also leveraging technology to enhance the boarding process on buses through an initiative named Tap, Scan, and Ride. Beginning last week, customers on all buses can scan their paper or mobile tickets at the onboard validator, reducing the time it takes to board. Customers can also use an onboard validator to pay their fares by tapping a contactless payment card or mobile device wallet. Customers at the Port Authority bus terminal will continue boarding as they always have for the time being until it's fully implemented throughout the system locally. In addition to infrastructure and technology, we're similarly focused on our people, and as a way to ensure that NJ Transit's future is built on the same foundation of highly skilled, highly qualified professionals that has come to define us now today, this focus has contributed, I believe, has contributed to NJ Transit being recognized by Forbes for 4 consecutive years, 3 as one of America's best in-state employers, and this year as one of the best employers in America. Aligned with that recognition, I'm pleased to note NJ Transit's popular summer internship program this year received more than 12,000 applications for just 100 available spots. Top colleges and universities have also expressed interest in becoming involved with our summer internship program as a further testament to our standing as a premier employer. These include, but are not limited to schools such as NJIT and Stevens, but also Princeton, Yale, the University of Michigan, and other top-tier institutions across the country. And building on our focus on people and their development, NJ Transit's initiatives expand into broader community engagement. April is Autism Acceptance Month, and NJ Transit uses this opportunity to introduce 3 new initiatives that will make our system at once more accessible and more inclusive. First, on April 2nd, NJ Transit launched Magnus cards for light rail. That's a technology that significantly improves the experience for neurodiverse customers on our light rail system, including customers with autism. We introduced this technology for our bus system in 2022 and our rail system in 2023. Now, through our ongoing partnership with Magnus Mode, NJ Transit will assist neurodiverse customers through our entire system with the help of Magnus, an illustrated character in the free Magnus app, Magnus Cards app. The app combines specialized instructions with real-world images to aid neurodiverse customers and anyone else who could use a little extra help navigating everyday experiences on public transit. Customers can learn more and find links to download the app at njtransit.com/magnusmode. Also, through our ongoing partnership with Happy Hour for Kids, NJ Transit was pleased to once again invite autistic children from around the state to record announcements at train stations, which are now being played through our system for the month of April. I encourage you all to visit our YouTube channel for a very special and heartwarming video showcasing some of the kids recording their announcements. Finally, earlier this month, we unveiled an NJ Transit bus wrap with Autism Acceptance Month creative design. The bus is now in revenue service, showcasing NJ Transit's commitment to supporting autism awareness and inclusivity across New Jersey. In conclusion, I would say that in wrapping up, I'm pleased to note that NJ Transit continues to be recognized by prominent external organizations, in this case for 2 notable infrastructure projects. I was honored to be on hand last month to accept 2 awards from the New Jersey Alliance for Action, one of the foremost industry organizations in New Jersey. At the Alliance's annual construction and award ceremony, I represent our organization to accept the award for our work to advance the $800 million plus Hoboken Connect project and our Market Street Bus Garage Rehabilitation Project in Patterson. We are very proud that the Alliance for Action recognized the caliber of the work on these two critical capital projects, and we thank the New Jersey Alliance for Action President Jerry Keenan and everyone at the Alliance for the honor. And as we celebrate our organizational accomplishments, I'd like to take a moment to spotlight the exceptional dedication of individuals within NJ Transit. This morning, it is my pleasure to present proclamations to 2 NJ Transit Police Department officers, Nicholas DePasquale and Kevin O'Brien, who in February saved a woman's life while on duty. Officers DePasquale and O'Brien were on patrol at our Linden station when they discovered a woman lying face down on the stairs, unconscious and without a pulse. After calling EMS, the officers sprang into action and began performing CPR. They were able to revive the woman and continue CPR until the EMS arrived. it's very likely this woman would not be alive today but for the action of these brave officers, which is why, on behalf of the entire NJ Transit family, I'd like to extend our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to both Officer DePasquale and O'Brien for their swift, decisive action under pressure. And we are fortunate today to be joined this morning by Officers DePasquale and O'Brien, along with our NJTPD Chief, Chris Trusillo. So if you'll join me in front of the boardroom and allow me to present these proclamations, and I'd like to invite the members of the board to come from the dais and join us for the photo. In the interest of time, I won't read both of them. Very similar, but congratulations. So when's the wedding? Has the date been set there for the? Actually. Well done. Thanks. Now, as speaking of recognizing special people, finally, I'd like to conclude this morning with a fond and heartfelt farewell to our former board member, Sangeeta Doshi, who came back today to join us after her recently expired 4-year term. Sangeeta was appointed by then Senate President Steve Sweeney to serve on our board in 2020. Since that time, Sangeeta has brought invaluable insights from her extensive background in telecommunications, business management, and public service. So I'd now like to read the board presentation that for Sangeeta, and then after we read that, then we'll do the same thing for the board to come up and have a nice group photo with Sangeeta. So expression of appreciation and recognition for Sangeeta P. Doshi. Whereas Sangeeta P. Doshi has been a member of New Jersey Transit Corporation's Board of Directors since January 2020, and whereas Sangeeta P. Doshi has been an active member of the Audit Committee, Capital Planning, Policy and Privatization Committee, and Energy and Sustainability Policy Committee, and whereas Sangeeta has been a champion of the agency's sustainability efforts, and whereas NJ Transit has benefited from Sangeeta Doshi's expertise, dedication, and enthusiasm in guiding NJ Transit in its mission to provide a safe and efficient transportation experience, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors, the President and CEO, and the employees of NJ Transit express their gratitude and appreciation to Sangeeta Doshi for her contribution toward making NJ Transit a responsive and reliable public transit agency, and wish her continued success and happiness. Signed by Fran and myself. So, Sangeeta. All right, thank you, Chair. And with that, I conclude my remarks for today.
Thank you, Kevin. Anna Marie Ganella Rosado will present the Advisory Committee report.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman O'Connor, Vice Chair Carson, board members and staff. The North and South PACs met jointly and virtually on March the 15th. We received updates on federal and state legislation, local government affairs, and from the community relations team. And the presentation was given by Jim Smith, Chief Communications Officer on the Fair Adjustment Proposal public hearings, for which I attended the Cherry Hill one. Our President and CEO Corbett announced Transit received 2 awards. First, the 2024 Engineering Excellence Award from the American Council of Engineering Companies of New Jersey for its electric bus project infrastructure upgrades at Newton Avenue Bus Garage in Camden. Second, the Leading Capital Construction Projects Award from Alliance for Action, which for its Hoboken Connection Project and the Market Street Garage Rehab in Patterson. New Jersey Transit also received a $1.6 million U.S. DOT grant to develop artificial intelligence-based systems to improve safety at light rail grade crossings. For the second year in a row, New Jersey Transit has recognized April as Autism Acceptance Month. The marketing promotion, Buy One, Get One Spring Forward with Savings, kicked off the spring season. And regarding the resolutions, in particular 2404-16 Fair Adjustment Authorization, the PACs offer the following comment. The New Jersey PAC and South Jersey PAC are disappointed with the proposed 15% fare adjustment and the impact that this will have on New Jersey Transit customers. While we would prefer any fare adjustment to be incremental over time, we understand New Jersey Transit's financial situation and regret incremental fare hikes were not in place as far back as 2015. Along with the adjusted fares, however, New Jersey Transit plans to implement new revenue strategies and increase existing ones. Without these increases, we risk service cuts in FY25. We are hopeful that a dedicated funding source for New Jersey Transit can be implemented. Regarding Resolutions 240222 and Resolution 2404-23 are supported by the PACs. Our next meeting will be held May 1st in person at the Transaction Conference in Atlantic City. That concludes my report, Chairman O'Connor.
Thank you. Meg, are there any comments from the public?
There are 13 in-person speakers and 6 pre-registered telephone speakers. In order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, comments will be limited to 3 minutes. We will first take elected officials, then priority access will be given to pre-registered in-person speakers, followed by any additional in-person speakers. We will then take comments from pre-registered telephone speakers, followed by any additional telephone participants who are queued to speak. Those participating by telephone, if you have not already done so, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. The first speaker is Mayor Ravi Bala, followed by David Peter Allen.
Good morning, board members. My name is Ravi Bala. I have the privilege of serving the city of Hoboken as its mayor, and I come here today to ardently speak in opposition to the 15% proposed fare hikes for New Jersey Transit commuters. My ask of you all is to please vote no on this fare increase. What this fare increase is essentially, in my view, is a backdoor tax on working families. It's not right. It's unconscionable. And I want you to vote your conscience. And there are a lot of good things about New Jersey Transit, and a lot of times where I publicly praise New Jersey Transit. The Hoboken Connect project is one of those areas where we work cooperatively and we work together. But this is an exception. This 15% tax increase is completely unconscionable because you're doing it on the backs of working families in Hoboken and throughout New Jersey. These people live paycheck to paycheck to get to work and to rely on mass transit. How is it good policy to impose a heavier financial burden on these individuals who are the economic engine of New Jersey. How is that good policy? This also disproportionately impacts Black and brown communities because they rely upon mass transit at a higher level than other communities. So think about this also from the perspective of equity, racial and social equity, and look at it from the perspective of climate action and sustainability. We talk about sustainability, but when you have higher increases, you get more people on it driving cars, you get higher carbon emissions, and you increase the problems that we're already facing with a climate crisis. So how is this good policy? They say that this board of New Jersey Transit is nothing more than a rubber stamp of the governor's policy. Are you all a rubber stamp of the governor's policy? Please prove me wrong. This is my phone, 201-647-6090. 201-647-6090. Please write that down. That's my personal cell phone number. I talked to my parents on this phone number today. It's the only phone I have. If you are not a rubber stamp of the governor's policy, call me and tell me why not. But if you vote for this fare increase because Trenton wants it, then I don't see it any other way, because what's happening here right now, and you see the people in this audience, what they want is not a fare increase. They want fairness. Is there anything wrong with fairness? Whatever happened to standing up for the little guy? Whatever happened to standing up for people who need a helping hand? Isn't that what our values are about? Isn't that what New Jersey Transit should be about? It's not a business. It's a public service. And my respectful ask of you, and sorry if I'm being passionate or I seem frustrated, is please try to, even if you vote today to pass this increase, try to work both publicly and behind the scenes. I would love to be your partner to find solutions to decrease the burdens that we keep on putting on the middle class through these types of proposals. There are other solutions out there. We all know about it, whether it's the corporate business tax or other sustainable funding streams that we need to find in order to make this agency sustainable and one which supports economic activity and supports working families in this state. So I want to thank you respectfully. Forgive me if I said anything that was inappropriate or out of line, but I'm simply telling you sincerely from the bottom of my heart how I feel. This is not right. Please, 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 it has to change. Please vote no today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is David Peter Allen, followed by Anastasia Steiniger.
Good morning. I'm David Peter Allen, Chair of ScatterTAC, the Senior Citizens and Disabled Residents Transportation Advisory Committee. I am reporting to you on behalf of the committee. Our membership subcommittee is interviewing applicants for openings in North and Central Jersey, and we hope to fill them soon, while we continue to look for a South Jersey candidate. In the meantime, we must address 3 items on today's agenda. First, at page 14 of Exhibit 2 and the summary of the hearings on item 2404-16, the fare increase, the document does not mention that ScatterTAC is affiliated with New Jersey Transit, even though it has been for all of its 40-year history. We also understand that our opinions do not necessarily represent those of other persons at New Jersey Transit, since our members are seniors and or persons with disabilities, and some depend on New Jersey Transit and affiliated carriers for all of their mobility. We have submitted the committee statement as an exhibit. Item 2024-23, concerning procurement of vehicles for community mobility, lies squarely within our ScatterTAC purview, as recognized by this board and New Jersey Transit Management. Yet we were not informed of this purchase until the general public was, and we were denied the opportunity to express the riders' perspective about these vehicles. We understand that a commercial driver's license is not required for vehicles with as low capacity as the ones being purchased,
but we must express our deep concern that the full committee was given no opportunity to comment while this was under consideration. Even though Access Link is also within Scattertack's recently reaffirmed purview, we were never informed about item 2024-21, renewal of the contract for Access Link services in Region 4 either. Given that the U.S. Justice Department is setting increasingly strict standards for Access Link under a consent agreement in the middle of its 3-year duration, the public interest demands that any provider must be subjected to the strictest scrutiny before any extension of a contract to provide Access Link services. Our efforts to communicate with Access Link about this issue have been rebuffed several times. The severe problems with Access Link still persist as we continue to hear complaints from riders. Members of our Access Link subcommittee can provide plenty. Perhaps the worst case involves a member who was forced to miss our 40th anniversary meeting in January because Access Link could not get her there and she had no other way to get around. Our now recognized and reaffirmed broad statutory purview includes Access Link, yet their managers continue to avoid communicating with us appropriately and directly, while the managers at local program support appear to lack the authority to ensure that Access Link managers engage with our committee in a meaningful way. We request the help of this board and senior management to bring Access Link to the table, to talk with our committee, so we can do what we can to help them improve service for their vulnerable riders. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Anastasia Steiniger, followed by Christina Cotta.
Good morning. My name is Anastasia Steiniger. I'm a campaigns organizer with the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters. NJLCV is the political voice for the environment in New Jersey, and we advocate for access to clean air, clean water, equitable open space, and sustainable transportation. So we strongly encourage the New Jersey Transit Board to reconsider these double-digit rate hikes, which will hurt working families in New Jersey. NJ Transit is in dire need of funding, and we are in strong support of a sustainable, reliable, and equitable source of funding for this agency. And these punitive rate hikes will not do that. With the introduction of the governor's budget proposal and proposed corporate transit fee, which would provide the agency with more than $800 million annually, it is more important than ever to reconsider the proposed fare hikes. In addition, while it is not its intended use, clean energy funds that are continually redirected to NJ Transit can and should only be used for electrification and clean energy projects to help New Jersey Transit meet its sustainability goals. Fare hikes should never be used as a major stopgap to lack of funding, especially when fare increases would not result in improved quality of service. Public transit is essential for millions of New Jerseyans, especially those who cannot afford to purchase individual vehicles and those who live in urban communities that do not have the infrastructure to support the ownership of personal vehicles. So this, sorry, I have terrible anxiety, especially with public speaking. Please give me some grace. So the addition of increased ticket prices could further deter utilization of public transit while increasing financial strain on working families who cannot afford it and who continue to experience reliability issues with this service. Instead, in coalition with other partner organizations that you will also hear from today, we believe it is vital to protect community members who are most vulnerable to painful price increases. So New Jersey LCV encourages the NJ Transit Board to consider rolling back any future fare hikes to a more reasonable annual increase with lower rates, especially on local bus routes. saving the Flex Pass and reversing the proposed 30-day expiration on all one-way tickets, committing to holding hearings on any future fare hike with virtual options for the public, and refraining from voting on this double-digit fare hike increase, and committing to working with the governor and legislature to provide a reliable, sustainable budget for NJ Transit. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. The next speaker is Christina Cotta, followed by Eric Benson.
Thank you to the NJ Transit Board of Directors for inviting public comment today. My name is Christina Cotta, and I am the New Jersey Policy Associate for Regional Plan Association. I also rely on NJ Transit to get around because I don't own a car and I'm incredibly transit dependent. I'm here to ask you to vote your conscience, as Mayor Bala said, and vote no on the fare hike proposed before you today. RPA has been a staunch supporter of NJ Transit for years. Jeff Zupan, one of our staff members, was one of the first planners for NJ Transit. As part of the Fund NJ Transit Coalition, we've advocated for recurring, dedicated operating funding for the agency. But in regards to the fare hikes, increases of this magnitude should be the option of last resort. A 15% fare increase this summer and 3% annual increases in perpetuity are more severe than those being implemented by peer transit agencies and will disproportionately hurt essential workers and low-income residents. They'll need to dig deep in order to afford to get to school, work, grocery stores, or make medical appointments on their already tight budgets. NJ Transit riders deserve better. These fare hikes will cause unnecessary pain for families already struggling with skyrocketing costs of living. And at a time when we should be encouraging more people to take public transit, a double-digit fare increase is not only punitive, but it's short-sighted. It won't fix NJ Transit's budget issues. The fare hikes will yield around $120 million, which, while it sounds sizable and will cover it maybe for this year, it's nowhere near enough to address NJ Transit's billion-dollar fiscal cliff. It'll barely make a dent in the budget deficit while creating a heavy burden for riders. And while we were glad to see Governor Murphy propose a funding mechanism via a corporate transit fee, RPA was incredibly disappointed by the governor's recent comments that it's not meant to be a permanent solution for NJ Transit's funding issues, and that, in the governor's words, NJ Transit needs to find a way towards being able to stand, if not on its own, largely on its own, and that the administration has proposed double-digit fare increases. Let's be clear. There isn't a public transit agency in the country or the world that stands on its own. Every public agency requires financial support, public transit agency, whether for capital or for operating expenses. It's not a handout. It's a recognition that public transit is a critical service that provides multifaceted benefits. NJ Transit is an economic driver, not a financial liability. New Jersey should recognize that and support the agency by providing it the funding that it needs to fulfill its mission and help make our state more equitable, more sustainable, and less car dependent. Budgets are a reflection of our values. RPA urges you, as members of the NJ Transit Board of Directors, to talk to state leadership about the value of public transit and to push the state to come up with a dedicated, reoccurring source of funding and to vote no on the proposed fare increase. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Eric Benson, followed by Sally Jane Gellert.
Hi, my name is Eric Benson. I'm working with the For the Many New Jersey Coalition. I was privileged enough to be able to attend one of the public hearings and listen in. My group also co-hosts an event where the virtual town hall to allow frustrated New Jerseyans to express their opinion of the proposed fare hikes where NJ Transit lacked one. I didn't hear any disputes that we need to invest more money in mass transit. But it is fair for New Jersey residents to question the 1-2 punch of our elected officials offering tax breaks to the world's richest corporations with one hand while giving fare hikes to the families and workers of New Jersey that are already struggling to make ends meet with the other. Raising transit fares, it's a flat tax. The poorest New Jerseyans who are most likely to rely on mass transit as their primary mode of getting around won't have a choice. They'll be forced to pay the increased fares while making difficult household budget choices. And the raising of fares can send mass transit into a death spiral as rising fares decrease ridership, which decreases service. This plan is not only unjust, it is bad transit policy. I'm not sure what why the slow walk. There is one obvious plan that our elected officials can enact, We do not have to wait until June 30th. The crisis is here, and the answer fits the bill. Fully restore the corporate business tax directed towards mass transit. The full CBT, which was on the books until this past January, provided $1 billion in annual revenue to the state. It's almost the exact number as NJ Transit's operating shortfall for this year and next. Fully restoring the CBT, directing the revenue towards our beleaguered mass transit system is a solution that asks the richest corporations in the state to pay their fair share. It's both more equitable, more sustainable than asking the poorest residents in New Jersey to reach deeper into the pockets for higher fares, which you're doing today. Before we ask the working families to dig deeper, we need to ask wealthy executives and shareholders to pay their fair share. Corporations might not be the ones that are riding New Jersey Transit, but they reap massive benefits when their workers can take the bus or train to work, and their customers can take transit to shop, dine, and go to events across the state. So I urge you to vote no on the fare hikes today. Wait for the legislature and the governor to enact a sustainable funding plan. I suggest bringing back the full corporate surcharge. It's the fairest way to fund our infrastructure and create a strong economy that works for all families. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sally Jane Gellert, followed by Alex Ambrose.
Good morning. I'm Sally Gellert, chairperson of the Lackawanna Coalition. We want to stress our concern about both the substance, in particular the proposal to impose a 30-day limitation on paper tickets, and the process for the fare increases. The hearings had only 121 attendees, fewer speakers despite widespread opposition. The 1,300-plus email comments, unread by reporters or the public, unless they took the time to send an open request that was honored, shows that the people were concerned, but it appears the agency does not particularly care about hearing from the customers it serves. Minimum announcements were made, the legal checkboxes could be checked, but there was none of the outreach of, for example, WMATA, the Washington Metro. While I was there a few years ago, customer survey announcements were posted at random bus stops, perhaps all stops, and the Pentagon Metro station had an actual survey taker talking to individuals. Our opaque agency has a long way to go to achieve a reasonable level of transparency. And speaking of which, transparent windows. This comes up repeatedly when talking to riders, the need to be able to see out of our windows, both day and night. It's been quite some time since you asked Rutgers University to investigate a solution, and we still sit struggling to determine where we are, especially if the onboard visual display is not working, the PA system is out or garbled, or we have a hearing disability. When can we again expect to see the world go by? Quiet cars, reality or illusion? Our info@lackawannacoalition.org email address recently received an email from attorney Brendan Nolan of Caldwell. I have attached the full text of his email to the written comments, but here's the gist of what he says. Mr. Nolan is a commuter from Short Hills who prefers riding in the train's quiet car. On multiple occasions, he has asked the conductor to require other passengers to abide by the quiet car policy and has been refused. He believes that this lack of action by New Jersey Transit after promising but not providing a quiet car is, quote, at best negligent and perpetrating a fraud on its customers. I replied to Mr. Nolan with various feedback options and believe that he will be following up directly with Mr. Corbett. In closing, I want to brag a bit. Yesterday, the Lackawanna Coalition celebrated our 45th anniversary of advocacy for rail passengers. We shared dinner at Trattoria Gianmarco in our hometown of Millburn, where the Coalition has met in the Town Hall conference room since its inception, moving to virtual meetings in March 2020, now with a hybrid Zoom option. We have spoken at most, if not all, board meetings, at least in the last decade. I joined the Coalition in 2015. We have testified at legislative committee budget hearings, including this year, and in the 1990s had a station inspection program by members that we are currently working on bringing back in a 21st century digital format, a version in which any rider can participate. We welcome all to attend our meetings, which start with a presentation on a rail, public transit, or governmental topic, and our membership fee for individuals remains at a very...
Thank you. The next speaker is Alex Ambrose, followed by David Pringle.
Good morning. My name is Alex Ambrose. I'm a policy analyst with New Jersey Policy Perspective. Now, I may be biased because I work in transit, but I think you folks represent one of the most important agencies in our state. But I'm asking you today to please vote no on this fare hike. This fare hike is anything but fair. I share New Jersey Transit's concern for a lack of funding. The agency has been underfunded for years, and we're still suffering under some of the cuts made under the previous administration. But the answer is that we need more public funding. Over-reliance on fares is one of the reasons that we're in this mess to begin with. Not only does this not solve the problem of the larger fiscal cliff that's coming next year, it is also highly inequitable, especially for bus. Even Governor Christie's administration recognized that bus fares should not be raised at the same rate as rail fares. And asking riders to pay more without any improvement to service just adds to the inequity. New Jersey Transit is a public service, and it should be treated as such, not a business that needs to subsist on its own revenue. For this reason, we support the governor's proposal for a corporate transit fee, a modest fee on the wealthiest corporations in the country, which is one of the most equitable ways to fund transit. We need more people taking trains and buses, not less. Transit has many benefits: economic, environmental, accessibility, and in fact, we should be exploring how to make transit more accessible and more affordable, not less. I also want to express some additional concerns about looking for efficiencies within NJ Transit. There are real improvements that can be made to service that more reflect the current age of commuters, but it's hard to imagine any efficiencies that don't result in service cuts. For example, New York MTA was able to avoid drastic service cuts and drastic fare hikes by raising taxes on extremely wealthy corporations. And the best way to save money in operations and find efficiency is actually investing in capital. I ask you to also roll back the 3% in perpetuity and commit to holding hearings on all future fare hikes, including virtual options. We are fortunate that we were able to have some riders join us here today, but a lot of them aren't able to make it because they are at work or caring for their families at this time. I ask you to please think of this vote not just as numbers on a page or in an Excel spreadsheet. This is a vote that's going to have real-life implications for riders and raise expenses for some of our most vulnerable New Jerseyans. Please stand up for riders, work with the legislature and the governor, and please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is David Pringle, followed by Talia Crawford.
Thank you. David Pringle. I represent Empower New Jersey. We're the state's largest climate coalition, over 100 faith and community and other groups. We couldn't oppose the proposed fare hike more than we do. At best, it's premature. At worst, it will be devastating. So we call on the governor and this supposedly independent board to reject that fare hike or the very least postpone it. It will be devastating because this fare hike is bad for the environment, our climate, the economy, environmental justice, and equity. It's premature because the budget's not due yet. The fiscal year for the state doesn't begin until July 1st. The governor, less than 2 months ago, proposed a massive infusion, hundreds of millions of dollars, to New Jersey Transit. The Turnpike Authority just hiked the tolls 3%. That would more than cover your proposed fare hike. So at the very least, you should be postponing this decision until you have a much better understanding of the state's finances moving forward. And that's not until July 1st at the earliest. This fare hike will devastate folks. It's how the transit is how so many of us get to work, medical appointments, grocery stores, and so much more, especially the low income. And transportation, especially individual cars and trucks, is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, and transit is the strongest solution to that. This fare hike will create a vicious cycle, a death spiral. Increased fares leads to less ridership, leads to less revenue, leads to either increased fares and or less service, leads to less revenue, less ridership, and so on. So that's why we're calling on the governor and you to stop this, knock it off. At the very least, delay it until you know what you're doing, unless what you're doing is not being an independent board. And if that's the case, resign, or at least look in the mirror next time you get a chance and know that you're not an independent board. You're just here doing somebody else's business, not the public's. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Talia Crawford, followed by John Richmond.
Good morning. I'm Talia Crawford. I'm the Advocacy and Organizing Manager at Tri-State Transportation Campaign. Tri-State is a nonprofit advocacy and policy organization dedicated to fighting for improved mobility, accessibility, affordability, and sustainability in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We strongly urge the board to vote no to the proposed fare increases. For years, transit advocates have been saying that without stable and dedicated funding sources for New Jersey Transit, riders will face unjust and unfair fare hikes and service cuts. Today, we have reached that juncture. The proposed 15% increase that would begin on July 1st of this year and a 3% increase annually will create major financial barriers for riders. New Jersey Transit's budget should not be balanced on the backs of riders. Because public transportation has not been prioritized like other essential utilities in New Jersey, it has been extremely underfunded, which means, New Jersey Transit has had to make do with what they have, continuing with the practice of capital to operating transfers to pursue preventative maintenance measures. And this has diverted almost $10 billion away from expanding service, redesigning routes, electrifying the bus fleet, and modernizing infrastructure. All of this, plus the residual impacts of COVID, like decreased ridership, have led the agency to almost this $1 billion deficit by fiscal year 26. And it's just a shame that the board must vote on this tremendous fare increase without knowing if the corporate transit fee will be passed by the New Jersey legislature. This is estimated to generate $800 million for New Jersey Transit, almost enough to cover the agency's budget deficit. But even if this isn't passed, there are plenty of other viable funding mechanisms that can alleviate New Jersey Transit's budget deficit, besides a double-digit fare hike, like increasing the New Jersey Turnpike Authority's annual contributions to the agency or diverting money from highway expansion to New Jersey Transit. Fare hikes should be a last resort option. This proposal will place a considerable burden on New Jerseyans, especially our most vulnerable populations who rely on public transit for their daily needs. Over 270 million passengers a year depend on the system to get to work, school, essential services, social engagements. So a 15% increase on their transportation costs has a huge impact. Please reconsider this fare increase. New Jersey riders deserve service that is affordable, accessible, reliable, and sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is John Richmond, followed by Tanine Howard.
Good morning. My name is John Richmond. I'm the Environment Chair of Blue Wave, New Jersey. I'm also on the steering committee of Empower New Jersey. This fare increase is anything but fair, as all of the other speakers have very articulately advised you. But I think you know this, and I think you've heard it. So I have a few questions for you that I think every New Jersey transit rider and every New Jersey resident would appreciate you answering before you vote today. Are you a rubber stamp? Or are you going to be basically using your independent judgment to determine whether this fare increase is in the best interest of New Jersey and transit riders? Are you going to actually explain your vote? I hope so. I hope you explain why this vote should go forward today and what alternatives you've looked at and advocated for to avoid the fare increase. And finally, I think the most important question for you to answer publicly, and this is to each of you, is why are you voting on this today? It's completely premature. Why are you not putting pressure on the legislature to provide the funds needed to avoid the fare increase and, in fact, provide stable funding for New Jersey Transit for years to come? The legislature has numerous ways in which it could fund the deficit. Look, The governor is proposing a $56 billion budget. The $100 million that the fare increase will raise is sofa cushion money. It can be found in any different number of ways. It can be found by passing the corporate tax fee and applying that money this year to avoid the fare increase. The legislature could stop the ridiculous $10.7 billion turnpike expansion project. This year, more money is going to be spent on that project than will be raised by the fare increase. Are you going to be advocating to stop that project and have the money go to mass transit? So please, answer these questions before you vote, and what your vote should be is either no or basically wait. Let the legislature, tell the legislature to find the money to forestall the fare increase. Thanks.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tanine Howard, followed by Tanisha Garner.
Hello, Tanine Howard, former employee at the New Jersey Department of Transportation. How you doing, Francis O'Connor? I want to say I didn't plan to speak today. I was going to watch, but looking at the, listening to the speeches and listening to the, what the speakers are saying kind of moved me to actually speak and tell you about my experience in JDOT. You guys are right. This is a done deal. The culture in New Jersey Department of Transportation is not beneficial to New Jersey. They have a history of discrimination, especially discrimination towards black men that are employed there. And with their treatment there, with their employees there, they really have no respect for the greater public. And you could just, if you make these things transparent, you can see how these things are. I would just put on the case of Pia Wilson, who has a case with New Jersey Transit, who had a case with New Jersey Transit. Hers is very, very similar to mine. It's just the retaliation when you complain and the and what the extent that that these agencies would go to quell a dissenting opinion. With that, I would just say for the public, you really need to pay attention to the New Jersey Transportation Trust Fund. That's the real place you can see where the money is going, where these programs are being spent, and if there's waste and efficiencies in these various programs, which they are. This is a consultant-driven industry. With that, won't say too much more. I'll just bring my documentation to other meetings, and I'll speak more, but I would say no to this fare hike. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tanisha Garner, followed by Vito Haria.
Grand Rising. Hi, my name is Tanisha Garner. I'm also a Newark resident. I also live in the Ironbound, which is an environmental justice community. And one of them that I definitely want to mention is about the highway expansion and how that is going to affect our community. We are already burdened. That's number one, and that's a $1.1 billion project, right? And number two, how can you ask for a 15% fare increase and a 3% increase in perpetuity? Perpetuity means life. The way things is going now, we don't know what's happening, right? So how are we putting in structures that's going to protect us all? We just recently had a 4.8 earthquake in New Jersey. And do you know, once you have one earthquake, there are other earthquakes that's going to happen. So what are we doing to protect the citizens and the residents, and especially New Jersey Transit infrastructure? I'm also part of Tri-State Transportation Bus Campaign. Like we're saying, we've been fighting a long time for this. And we also asked a meeting with board member Nara, which we have not received, even though you took over the 31 bus route. And you knew that when you take over, and it's funny that you actually had that program, you actually had that bus route before Coach took over. And so that means you took back a bus route that you already have. So what are we doing to make sure that we are not affecting the residents, because you got to remember, yes, you give a corporate tax to the corporations, but you got to remember who is bringing in the money for the corporations to be able to create profit. It's the residents, it's the employees that make sure that they be able to be sustainable. So how do you protect those workers? How do you protect the children and their parents that got to rely on the buses to take their children to school every day? And how about the buses and the trains that are not running properly or on time, or maybe if you have a problem and it's not be able to be connected, that the riders are not even getting the information on time. I have videos of how we have a backup when you're going down Ferry Street, when you're going towards Jersey City, when the bridge rises. That means the transportation gets backed up, New Jersey Transit gets backed up, and we're not getting any signs or anything to be able to understand. I would like to ask for a meeting with our board so we could come up with solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Vito Havria, followed by the telephone speakers.
Hello, I'm Vito Havrilla. I am the Legislative Director of the Lackawanna Coalition. I'm going to read briefly from our statement. Our statement calling for hourly weekend service between Hoboken and Montclair State University on the Montclair-Boonton line. So, on the 28th of November 2022, our organization adopted a resolution calling for better service on the Montclair-Boonton line. Right now, we have services every 2 hours, and including a 3-hour gap. So we would like service to run every hour between Hoboken and Montclair State University on the weekends. So I will just remind everyone again that we meet every month in Millburn. Usually it's the 4th Monday of the month. And anybody else out there would like to join our organization and have this improvement become a reality, please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Operator, please open the floor for public comments by telephone participants, beginning with those who pre-registered to speak.
Certainly. As a reminder, if you have not already done so, please press *1 on your telephone keypad to enter the queue to speak. You will hear a brief tone to indicate you have successfully entered the queue. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes for their public comment. A warning will be provided with 1 minute remaining, and again with 15 seconds remaining. There are 12 public speakers. The first public comment is coming from Holly Cox. Holly, your line is live and your time will begin.
Thank you. My name is Holly Cox. I'm a 25-year resident of Montville, New Jersey. The proposed NJ Transit rate hikes are bad for NJ working class residents who rely on NJ Transit. They are also bad for our environment, as they will discourage the use of mass transit and contribute to emissions in a time of climate crisis. Instead, the $10.7 billion budgeted for the colossally stupid Turnpike expansion project should be used instead to expand bus and rail options. The future is mass transit, and the NJ Transit system should be investing toward that goal. This rate hike and its burden on working-class residents will cause fewer people to use mass transit at a time we know we need to make public transit more accessible for everyone. NJ Transit should work to encourage the use of mass transit and thereby help reduce traffic-caused air pollution, which disproportionately harms people of color and low-income communities and violates NJ's environmental justice law. Your rate hike will have a devastating impact on urban areas and minority communities, as people are already struggling to make ends meet. And I echo 1,000% Eric Benson's comments about why does this burden always fall on working class people? Corporations now are rolling in profits, like, unbelievable profits. Why aren't they being taxed and bearing the burden of this hike? They're the ones also who are benefiting from the workers coming into work. Further, the exorbitant almost $11 billion cost of the proposed Turnpike expansion is better spent on public transportation. Public transportation improvements stimulate more economic development and jobs, decrease traffic congestion, lower emissions and pollution, and are a lifeline for low-income families and essential workers, and are being demanded more by people of all income levels who want low-emission transportation options. This rate hike will cause real hardship to people and discourage the use of mass transit, which will increase emissions. We have to stop making the climate crisis worse. Look around you. It is impossible to ignore the climate now. Hottest days and the hottest year on record in all of history. New York City subways flooding and people dying in basement apartments. Barely containable wildfires across the entire globe with unbreathable air affecting us here in New Jersey. Stronger and scarier storms, droughts, and 1 million species threatened with extinction. Climate scientists tell us we have only approximately 6 years to drastically cut our emissions to keep our planet habitable. The need to act on climate is urgent, and our leaders are failing us. We need dedicated state funding for NJ Transit. Public mass transit is the future, and the state should invest toward that necessary goal. We need leaders who can envision a cleaner world with less concrete and pollution and cars, and instead more trees, natural habitats, cleaner air, bike lanes, all accessible through public
15
transportation.
seconds remaining.
Please see that you have a historic opportunity to promote economic growth, combat the climate crisis, and reverse policies that unduly burden minority communities by rejecting the rate hike and using the money from the proposed turnpike expansion to invest in public transit. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Matty Bucas-Highland. Matty, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Matty W. Buckies-Highland. First of all, it's Happy Autism Awareness Month here. I live in Levittown, and I went to a high school called Gerald Douglas MacArthur, which we had every April, we had Autism Awareness Month. On behalf of the millions around the world who have autism, we want to thank you for in a world where you're accepted and understood for who you are. On to the topic of fares. Well, fares, I do want to give a brief history. This is the first time the New Jersey Transit Corporation is going to raise fares since 2015. The 15% might look a little too much, but let me give you one example, two examples actually. On August 19, 2011, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey voted to raise the toll from $8 to $15 over time. On September 18, 2011, it was raised from $8 to $12, and then on its way to $15 on December 13, 2015, with the approval of the commissioners, one of them being William Pat Schuber, who was a former Bergen County executive. That was ultimately approved by then New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and by New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. The second thing is, though, I would like to echo something that I heard from the MTA board meeting on December 6th, 2023, from Commissioner Neil Zuckerman, N-E-A-L Zuckerman. He said, none of us like to pay more, but ultimately someone has to pay it. Fortunately, none of us like to say, yes, please, I will want to pay more. That's not how it works. But the debt will keep growing if these fares aren't increased. None of us likes to pay more, but ultimately someone has to pay it. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Rachel Davis. Rachel, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Can you hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Rachel Dawn Davis. I'm the Public Policy and Justice Organizer for Water Spirit. Water Spirit is a spiritual ecology nonprofit, and our mission critical is to hear the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. So I'm going to echo the fact that the majority of people who have a stake in this decision, especially if you have this vote today, which I urge you not to, are not here, and they're not being represented. So I just want to amplify the voices of those who are impacted, who are here, who were somehow able to make it here today. The proposed fare increases and continued spending on the Turnpike expansion project are extremely troubling developments that not only burden commuters, but also contribute heavily to environmental degradation and unsustainable urban sprawl. I've been saying this for years. It's clear that our priorities must shift towards a more sustainable and equitable transportation system that clearly prioritizes public transit over highway expansion. This has been said many times over before. I implore you, Board, I implore you, Governor, to reconsider the fare increases and halt further spending on the Turnpike expansion project. As was pointed out by, I believe, Mr. Pringle, this is not necessary. This does not have to happen now, so there is no rush. And this is a failure, as many have pointed out, for many generations ago. Preventing this problem could have happened if there was a coherent plan in place, taking into account the very clear climate crises that, again, has been described by many speakers before me, including regarding the recent earthquake that just happened, which was, again, pointed out by Ms. Gardner. There will be many more to follow. By investing in public transit, we can reduce congestion, lower emissions, possibly have a stake at living in this future that we have really, unfortunately, doubled down on increasing fossil fuels with all the decisions that have been made in the past. We have an opportunity now to move forward in a positive, again, livable future way in New Jersey for all residents. It is beyond time to prioritize the well-being of our communities and our environment over short-sighted infrastructure projects like this. We, as always, urge that we work together to build a future where public transit is reliable, affordable, and sustainable for generations to come. And we're, of course, capable of speaking to the need for accessibility enhancements and not anything taking away from that, but only adding to that. So thank you for your attention to this critical issue. Again, I urge you vote no if you have a vote today, but I've been before these boards many times before where if there was not a vote that was favorable, they didn't vote. This would not be a favorable vote, so please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Paula Rogovan. Paula, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Hi, I'm Paula Rogovan from the Don't Gas the Meadowlands Coalition. We strongly oppose the New Jersey Transit fare hike. We urge you to vote no. It's interesting that CEO Corbett just advertised discounts for the spring to encourage ridership. And yet at the same time, you're proposing fare hikes? Really? With the climate crisis intensifying, storms, floods, forest fires, drought, displacement of millions of people around the world, it is the responsibility of our government, of all agencies, of government commissions such as New Jersey Transit Board of Commissioners, to do everything possible to help prevent this expanding climate crisis. We worked successfully for several years to stop New Jersey Transit's proposed gas power plant in Kearney. Hiking transit fares hurts low-income people, and it will drive people away from mass transit. It is a horrendous tax on working people. This is the precise time in history we need to expand mass transit. Fares should go down to encourage people to use trains, buses, and light rail and transition away from cars. Train and bus routes should be expanded so that more people will use mass transit. The late folk singer Pete Seeger wrote the song, "When Will They Ever Learn?" But I ask New Jersey Transit, when will you ever learn? When will you ever learn? When will you learn that it is your responsibility to protect and not harm the people of New Jersey? We need you to vote no on a fare hike. We need you to pressure the state legislature to create a dedicated funding for New Jersey Transit. Taxing the millionaires is one way. Another way is for New Jersey Transit commissioners to call on Governor Murphy to reject the $10.7 billion highway expansion project, which would pollute environmental justice communities such as Jersey City. Don't waste those billions on a project that will harm people. Send those billions of dollars from highway expansion instead to New Jersey Transit. We hold each of you members of this commission responsible for protecting the lungs and the pocketbooks of New Jersey residents. Vote no on the fare hike.
Thank you. The next public comment will be coming from Adam Resch. Adam, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Good morning. I'm asking the New Jersey Transit Board of Directors to display its independence and reject the current fare hike proposal. The 15% amount for this year is simply too high, especially for working class riders. 3% increases in perpetuity are unacceptable, especially without a commitment to service improvements without a commitment to preserving service levels beyond the current fiscal year. And frankly, it's ridiculous to have this fare structure that theoretically could bind my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren without the promise of a public hearing. The public hearing process was very flawed. You deliberately chose not to offer a public option, a virtual participation option, so that as few riders as possible would comment in person. Because of that, you should not consider a 15% increase, especially don't consider the 3% automatic increases. Further, since there are signals from the governor and the legislature that dedicated funding may finally be around the corner, it's imperative that you wait on any future year proposals, especially since you offer no guarantee of current service levels, let alone enhancements. You wouldn't allow a train or a bus operator to operate on a route where you don't have a clear understanding of the territory ahead and where you don't have a clear view of the signals. If you're voting yes on an automatic fare increase now without knowing what the fiscal picture would be like in a year or more, then you're doing the equivalent of that. Indeed, I would strongly suggest to the board that its fiduciary duty requires it to withhold any consideration of fare increases for future years and consider only the current year. And again, 15% for the current year is a deep ask, especially for working class riders. For me, that's close to a $500 per year increase.
1 minute remaining.
Increase you're asking for. That's a tremendous burden, even for middle income riders. The Flex Pass is something that you must preserve. It's one of the better things to come out of this pandemic. It accounts for current ridership patterns. It's something that, frankly, will help minimize the losses in ridership coming from this fare increase. And it should not be lost that a Flex Pass user will be paying far more than 15% increases if they have to rely on one-way fares or monthly passes instead. Finally, 30 days expiration for a one-way ticket is completely unacceptable. Consider the riders who buy tickets for multiple trips in advance have a longer expiration window of 90 days or even 6 months if you're going to change it at all. I contend that
15 seconds remaining.
Again, 15% is too steep for this year. Make it something like 5 or 7.5% at the most. Do not vote on a 3% perpetuity increase now. Wait until next year and hold public hearings with a virtual option. Display your independence. Adhere to your fiduciary duty. Thank you for your time. And Board Member Narr, if you have an update on the customer advocate, please provide it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment will come from Bill Ritzler. Bill, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Bill Ritzler, and I'm the Transportation Committee Chair for Tri-County Sustainability. TCS is the sustainability hub for 101 municipalities, 1.2 million residents, and the 10 legislative districts in Burlington, Camden, and Gloucester counties. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and thanks to all the people who work for New Jersey Transit providing mobility for New Jersey residents and visitors. Later this morning, the New Jersey Transit Board faces the crucial decision of whether to increase fares by 15%, as well as an automatic fare increase of 3% per year going forward. Tri-County Sustainability, in concert with the nearly universal consensus expressed by the multitude of engaged public transportation stakeholders, has previously outlined the negative impact this fare increase will have on the riding public. This is especially true for passengers that fall into the low and moderate income category, for whom New Jersey Transit may be the only affordable mobility alternative. Additionally, some existing passengers will turn to motor vehicles, creating pollution and contributing to climate change as a result. I ask today that the Board use its authority as a public body with responsibility for oversight of a major state agency to vote against the proposed fare increase to protect the interests of New Jersey Transit passengers. Although the Board is responsible for making sure that New Jersey Transit functions properly, it cannot ignore the needs of New Jersey residents in the process. New Jersey Transit Board should be mindful of growing momentum to implement external oversight of the agency. New Jersey Transit has a demonstrated recent history of marginal public input by way of the passenger advisory committees and the long vacant customer advocate position. Voting to ignore the needs of the passenger in our environment could potentially exacerbate sentiment to lessen the autonomy of the New Jersey Transit Board. Please choose wisely. Thank you.
1 minute remaining. Apologies. Thank you. The next public comment will come from Jason Anthony. Jason, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Good morning, New Jersey Transit Corporation Board. Jason Anthony here from the Long Island Railroad 88 Task Force. It's very unfortunate to hear Kevin Corbett offering discounts and at the same time offering us a fare increase. It is a hypocrisy. And at the same time, New Jersey is forgetting those at the east side of the Hudson that use the system, like Penn Station, New York, the Port Authority Bus Terminal, and the George Washington Bridge Bus Station. You guys should remember that New Yorkers use the system to go to New Jersey, like places like MetLife Stadium, to New Jersey to do shopping, work, or they live there. This fare hike is totally unfair. Let's do a little fact check. The 3% annual fare increase, it reminds us of the Port Authority that does the same thing. But let's remind Kevin Corbett and the board of something. There's a lawsuit that's pending in federal court that was done by the governor and Judge Geiheimer against the state of New York. Please settle that lawsuit because the MTA needs federal funding and capital to invest in signaling, ADA accessibility improvements, among other things. If that lawsuit is not settled, we will be in more danger. And please make New Jersey Transit an independent agency, not dependent from New Jersey Department of Transportation. That's not given. So please, board members, vote no on this fare hike.
Thank you. There are 6 public comments remaining in queue. Once again, it is *1 if you wish to make a public comment today. The next public comment is coming from Samantha DeFalco. Samantha, your line is live and your time will now begin.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Sam DeFalco, and I am an organizer with in Water Watch, speaking on behalf of our 75,000 members and supporters across New Jersey. And I am speaking in opposition to the proposed fare hikes, which are nothing more than an attack on working people and will do nothing in the long run to fix New Jersey Transit's financial problems. We're in a climate emergency, and never once has it felt genuine that New Jersey Transit is committed to addressing this. We know that public transit is a climate solution, and these fare hikes will make it even more difficult for working people to access public transit and reduce the amount of cars on the road. One solution that New Jersey Transit has used for is repurposing funds slated for the unnecessary and unwanted first hike expansion. And we're talking about $11 billion that's being applied in the first hike for no other reason than to create a bottleneck at the Holland Tunnel where car and truck traffic will back up for miles when we should be repurposing that money into public transportation. So calling on the board to vote no on this fare hike. These, for years, been saying that the board is a representative
1 minute remaining
because of the board's unwillingness to go against transit leadership's directives. We saw this with proposal to build a new gas power plant in Kearney in an environmental justice community, and that the board members would speak out against it. So, like many people have said before, prove that you're not a rubber stamp agency. We already heard that Kevin Corbett, who supports these fare hikes, is going to be testifying in front of the legislature in support of these fare hikes, along with Governor Murphy. Prove to the public that you're not a rubber stamp agency and vote no. And commit to a better process for this in the future. The sham public hearings that you held,
15 seconds remaining.
Not acceptable. We need to see a better process, and that looks like taking the funding from somewhere else and giving the people of New Jersey a real voice in this. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment is coming from Tim Sevener. Tim, your line is live, and your time will now begin.
Hello. Yes, this is Tim Sevener, a director with the New Jersey Association of Rail Passengers, and our president, Joe Versaghi, testified in Newark against these fare hikes. Definitely, these fare hikes will decrease ridership and definitely put a burden on the people who have to use the trains. I agree with the other commenters that they should wait until the budget, but I also think that we need to look at some other funding sources. They just increased some vehicle registrations based on, like for electric vehicles. I think that they should do like Washington, D.C., and for all vehicles, greatly increase vehicle registration based on weight, because that's how much burden it puts on the roads. And then use that increased funding as one of the sources to help New Jersey Transit. And another suggestion I have, which I suggested before, is a private jet fee. Private jets are mostly used by the rich. There were 852 private jets going to the Super Bowl. It's the most polluting form of transportation, and those people can definitely afford it. They're not paying their full weight in what it costs, like to maintain the FAA still has to do the flight control for all these private jets. So we should have also a private jet fee, and then use that to help fund New Jersey Transit again. And of course, we don't need to widen any highways. Not only the New Jersey Turnpike, but the Atlantic City Expressway. Atlantic City service is terrible, woefully inadequate. It should be electrified and powered with the offshore wind that we're putting in is a perfect combination. We also should be considering, again, solar-powered rail. I noticed in the budget that fuel costs increased.
15 seconds remaining.
And a major part of the fuel cost is for the diesel. So once again, New Jersey Association of Rail Passengers calls for, which we've called for years, electrifying the rails, especially, for example, on the Montclair-Boonton line from MSU to Denville, from Long Branch to Bayhead. These short segments should be electrified, which would make for cleaner rail, and also can be potentially powered by renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment will be from Joseph Clift. Joseph, your line is live, and your time will now begin. Joseph, your line is live. Please check your mute button. Your time will now begin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. My name is Joseph Clift. I'm a past director of planning at the Long Island Railroad and a follower of New Jersey Transit capital projects for the last 20 years. I have one request on the fare increase proposal today, and that is to extend the expiration date on tickets from 30 days to 90 days. Previous speaker mentioned about the difficulty of people buying tickets who buy in bulk. If you are sight impaired, etc., it's difficult to buy tickets. If you go to 90 days from 30, I ask you to make that change in the proposal today. The cost is not significant, if anything, and it will help people who have difficulty buying tickets one by one. Regarding the fare increase, two numbers that should stick out. No one has talked about them. 32% is the inflation, general inflation since the last fare increase. 42% is the increase in New Jersey Transit operating costs from 2009 to 2015. And New Jersey Transit customers have gone from paying 48% of the cost of operating New Jersey Transit to 27%. The problem we have today is the governor dictated to New Jersey Transit and its rubber stamp board there not be any fare increases for 8 years. The MTA's had fare increases. Almost everybody else has had fare increases. He bragged about it, and what's the result? A 15% fare increase July 1st that only covers half of inflation. Customers must be willing to pay their fair share, and I would suggest they're getting a good deal. Even though it's a 15% fare increase, they're way ahead of inflation. 3% annually, they'll never catch up. And if you want to look at who the problem is today, look at yourselves, board members. You're the ones that just sat there and did nothing. You've known about the problem for years, and you've done nothing. So I ask once again that you change the 30 days to 90 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next public comment will come from Doug O'Malley. Doug, your line is live, and your time will now begin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, super. This is Doug O'Malley, Director of Environment New Jersey. We represent more than 80,000 citizen members across the state. I wanted to weigh in first by thanking New Jersey Transit for having a virtual option for this hearing, like they do for all board hearings. Obviously, that was not the case for the fare hike hearings. That's been said before, but that's critical because it made it harder for many of you to listen in. So I really encourage every member of the New Jersey Transit Board to look at that transcript because it will tell you very clearly what commuters are saying. So this is a very good representation of where riders are, but don't trust the people here at a midday hearing. Listen to the riders that showed up at those hearings. As you've heard already this morning, the New Jersey Transit fare hikes historically have had one clear result. The more you ask riders to pay, the less riders are going to take New Jersey Transit. And a fare hike of 15% will definitely hurt the most vulnerable bus riders hardest and drive other riders back into their cars. That means more pollution and more traffic on our roads. And this is really important because right now this fare hike is being presented as a solution to New Jersey Transit's budget crisis. It is not. It is a false solution. We cannot balance the budget on the backs of bus and train riders with the fiscal cliff looming. And New Jersey Transit board members should listen to the riders. And you should show independence by opposing this fare hike or at least not voting for it. There's a term in the tech sector called dog fooding your product. And many of you dog food New Jersey Transit because you are riders. And when you are riders, you obviously can talk to your fellow riders and ask them, how is the service? This is obviously the role that Board Member Nara has been working on to hire a customer advocate, but all of you are customer advocates. And the message you will hear clearly is the message you've already heard this morning. It's don't get rid of the flex packs. Don't get rid of 30-day passes. And certainly don't have a fare hike of 15%. We've seen more than 800 cancellations of trains in 2023. So when we talk about service not getting better, that is what riders are complaining about. And ultimately, this isn't just about you advocating for riders. It's about inviting the legislature and mayors and the governor himself to join riders on New Jersey Transit. because we've heard from Mayor Bala this morning. We heard from multiple elected officials. We've had Senate President Qatari speak out against this fare hike. Listen to those leaders, listen to riders, and don't just push the yes button. This will not solve the crisis. I think it's also critical to know that the ultimate decider for the fare hike will be the legislature, who will vote on the FY25 budget right before July. Don't vote today. It's time to invest in New Jersey Transit and not highway expansions. Don't shake riders down for more dollars. New Jersey Transit needs stable, dedicated funding to stay in existence, and the New Jersey Transit Board and the legislature should reject this fare hike. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public comment will come from Chris Noel. Chris, your line is live, and your time will now begin.
Hello, good morning. This is Chris Noel, N-O-W-E-L-L, from Fort Lee, and I'm with Bergen County Complete Streets. I'm expressing my opposition to the fare hikes. We already subsidize the sprawl lobby and big car, which is the auto, cement and mortgage industries, with highway improvements and expansions. And now the governor-backed expansion of the turnpike through environmental justice communities of Newark, Bayonne, and Jersey City is an almost $11 billion subsidy that would be paid for by taxpayers, including non-drivers. And then we make those non-drivers pay again. And we're planning to make them pay more to ride public transit. That is often inadequate anyway. And Governor Murphy and Congressman Gottheimer are worried about increased traffic congestion in New Jersey and air pollution in New Jersey from New York City's congestion pricing. Yet, the governor is proposing what is, in effect, a tax on the transit riders who are helping to reduce traffic congestion and air pollution in New Jersey. So combined with the turnpike expansion, this sure seems like a scheme to keep people driving, because that's what it would do. And I don't know if this is Governor Murphy returning or paying forward political favors, but don't be complicit in it. A fare increase will cause fewer people to use transit because people who have a choice will choose to drive. People who don't live where they work, shop, or get health care and cannot afford to pay anymore won't be able to use public transit. And what's going to happen to them? Don't leave them hanging out to dry. This is just a perpetuation of the historic injustices of squeezing and dumping on low-income and minority residents every way possible. Don't be complicit in it. We need reliable, sustainable funding. So please, there are ways out there. We can fully restore the corporate business tax, impose a tax on these ridiculous, massive SUVs, take some of that $11 billion for the turnpike expansion to fund public transit. And, I love public transit, and that might sound a little weird, but, when I travel, I always love to check out, whatever the city or country's public transportation. And I want to love New Jersey Transit, but you make it so hard. So we are counting on you to stand up, do the right thing for New Jerseyans, not just Governor Murphy, right? Oppose the fare hike or don't vote. As New Jersey Transit Board members, demand Governor Murphy use one of these many ways to fund New Jersey Transit without raising fares. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next public comment will come from Jenny Carey. Jenny, your line is live, and your time will now begin.
Thank you. There's something I'd like for you to consider. I don't approve of this increase at all, and I'll tell you why. I'm a senior citizen, a widow. I lived on the Parkway helping for 30 years. I was sole caretaker to my mom. And I've had to use public transportation to work part-time even now in New York City. So this increase will have a tremendous effect on me. But what I want you to understand more than my situation are the people who are fighting cancer. I have friends who are in their 80s who are fighting cancer. Their doctors are in New York City. They physically cannot drive to New York, and they use public transportation. I've offered to come in with a couple of them. They will never recoup that money. And one thing that I want you to understand, they will buy 1 year's worth of train tickets or bus tickets in advance. They're senior citizens. They don't do the apps. They don't do anything on their mobile phones. They're just too afraid. So I want you to consider the senior citizens that have to go to doctors in New York City. This will be so hard on them to have this increase. I feel like the public was not aware of this. It was not prepared well, and I'm asking you not to approve this. Wait another year. Wait 6 months. Let the people know. But please do not, anybody that has pre-bought tickets, they need to be in existence for a year. I think that's a little bit unfair, especially for people who are fighting cancer and need to go into the city. Thank you very much for your time. And once again, everybody that is against this, I'm with you 100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There were no other public comments at this time.
Thank you, public speakers. Are there any board member comments? Okay. Board Member Morocco.
Thank you. I just wanted to briefly touch upon a few points. And the first is to thank former board member Doshi for her years of service. It was a real pleasure working with her. And also to commend Transit on all of the progress it's made around autism acceptance and inclusivity. You know, on the fare hike, I just want to echo what President Corbett said, which is a fare increase is always a last resort, which is the reason that the agency hasn't increased fares in almost a decade. And I think the alternative to filling that budget gap is cutting services. And I think cutting services really does a disservice to working families in New Jersey. I do agree that there needs to be additional funding going forward. I think we all acknowledge that, and I applaud Governor Murphy for his proposal on the corporate transit fee, which I think is necessary, and I would encourage the legislature and the governor to find additional sources of funding to ensure that in the future, transit does not have to cut services, and if there are any ways to help relieve the burden on working families and low income and other communities that are particularly vulnerable, I would encourage the legislature and governor to look at that as well.
Thank you. Board Member Nara.
Sorry. Adam Reich had asked me about a update on the public advocate. I can't give one yet, but I think there will be one very soon. And I want to address this first to Ms. And I want to get this right, Ms. Garner, Tanisha Garner from Tri-State Transportation Committee. I apologize. I don't know how I missed it, but I'm not going to ask you to stay for the entire meeting unless you can. But if you can, I will try to find out a way to reach out to you so I can set up a meeting with your committee. So apologies for that not having happened. As to the fare hike, a number of people have asked us if we're rubber stamps for the governor. I'm not going to speak for anybody else here, but for myself, I will tell you I am not. And I will also be very frank and tell you all that this vote pains me very, very much. And I'm going to be voting yes. And my explanation for that is one of the other speakers talked about fiduciary duties. As a member of this board, we have a fiduciary duty to the agency. And there's the alternative right now, without anything happening with the legislature or the governor later on this year. Right now, the alternative are service cuts and job losses. And in terms of job losses, that's going to be devastating to our fellow citizens who work very hard for this agency. But the service cuts are the things that really are the biggest concern. We've already seen, and mention has been made about some of the private bus companies who've abandoned their lines, and New Jersey Transit having taken those on, and sometimes not to the satisfaction of the residents because they would like fuller service, and I can understand that. Taking on those lines was a big fiscal burden for the agency because we didn't get extra money during this year to do that. This particular budget takes into account those lines that we picked up. But, and I understand the communities that are going to be impacted. Many of you know I'm a commuter. My line is a private line. But I'm fully aware that all of the private companies are waiting on this because it's going to give them the opportunity to also raise fares. And, you know, I don't make a fortune, but I certainly make enough that I'm going to be able to continue to commute on the buses. And I know there are many, many of our residents who are going to be digging deep into pockets that are nearly empty. And this is so hard to do this. And we've had really intense conversations amongst ourselves about this. But this is a process. I know a lot of you are talking about us waiting on this vote. The problem is there's financial consequences to waiting on the vote. And quite frankly, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think any of us know what's going to happen in July or beyond. And, you know, I frankly asked, and I'll be very honest, I asked, if things turn out where there's dedicated funding, and that dedicated funding actually, you know, not only fills the budget gap now, but in the future, is there a possibility of rollbacks of these fare hikes? And, you know, there's a lot of stuff on the table, but everything is uncertain. And all we can do as a board, at least I feel as a board member with the fiduciary duties that we have, is deal with the situation as it exists right now, as unpleasant and as gut-wrenching as it is for many of us. So I will tell you that I feel like I've always been honest, and so I'm just going to tell you I am voting yes, but it is a reluctant yes. It is a very difficult decision to do this, and I have heard everybody. I was at 2 of the meetings, and I took an opportunity to read the comments and listen to some of the other comments at the others that I didn't attend, and every single one of you who got up here and said that New Jersey residents deserve safe, reliable, efficient, and affordable public transportation are 100% right. And if there was a way to deliver that to everybody without these fare hikes, I would be 100% on board. But today, as it exists, this is our situation. So I thank you for everybody who's come out today and all the other days, and I appreciate your dedication to all your organizations and your communities, and for the individual riders who've come out. You have been heard. So thank you all.
Thank you. Are there any additional board member comments?
Megan, I'll just add one comment. I think both my board colleagues have probably said it better than I ever could say and have said it best. But I did want to follow up on the comment that Board Member Nara referenced around this board rubber stamping the decision. And I think that implies an assumption that we take this lightly, that we haven't done our due diligence, that we haven't looked at all of the factors that need to be considered, and that we don't understand the implications to the public. And that would be farthest from the truth. So, like Board Member Nara, my vote will also be yes, and I know we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I just wanted to be clear that it's not a yes, just as a rubber stamp. It's a yes, considering all the factors that we've discussed and that you've heard from my colleagues. I think it's important for the public to understand that.
Thank you. Are there any additional board member comments? Okay, thank you.
Board Member Cruz will present the Operations and Customer Service Committee report.
Thank you, Chair. The Operations and Customer Service Committee received an update on trends, analysis, and actions for rail, bus, light rail, and Access Link. The committee also received an update on the cost of service. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Maroka will present the Administration Committee report.
The Administration Committee received a financial update. This included a summary of operating results compared to previous year's comparable period and fiscal year 24 budget, 12-month fare box revenue compared to pre-COVID, major balance sheet items, and federal COVID-19 relief grant drawdown summary. Additional information was provided as part of the agenda materials, including the cost of service key performance indicators, 12-month fare box recovery, history of vacancy, attritions and hires, ridership and revenue, and a monthly budget to actual comparison for February 2024. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Board Member Wise will present the Capital Planning, Policy, and Privatization Committee report.
Thank you. The Capital Planning, Policy, and Privatization Committee reviewed the board items for the execution of Contract 20-084, Option Period 1 for the provision of access link service in Region 4, Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, and North Ocean counties, and local programs and community mobility purchase of 17 light-duty vehicles. That concludes my report.
Thank you. President and CEO Corbett will present the action items.
Good. Thank you, Chair. Now I'd like to introduce Jackie Stanford, Acting Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer, to present Board Item 2404-16 concerning the fare adjustment authorization. Jackie.
Thank you, Kevin. We are presenting for approval item number 2404-16, fare adjustment authorization. Authorization is requested that the recommended fare adjustment take effect as set forth in Exhibit 3, with a proposed system-wide fare adjustment effective July 1st, 2024, that would increase by no more than 15%, with annual increases of no more than 3% effective July 2025. Authorization is also requested to take whatever actions are necessary to implement the proposed fare changes set forth in the item and related exhibits. We ask for your approval of item number 2404-16.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-16?
Make the motion.
May I have a second? Any discussion? Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Brontes?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Dash 17 regarding regulations on property. Jackie.
We're presenting for approval item number 2404-17, regulations, adoption of NJAC 16:77, use or occupancy of New Jersey Transit-owned property. Authorization is requested to take all actions necessary to adopt NJAC 16:77, use or occupancy of New Jersey Transit-owned property, consistent with board item and corresponding exhibits, format the regulations as appropriate, and take all other actions necessary to effectuate the final adoption and promulgation. We ask for your approval of item number 2404-17.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-17?
Motion.
May I have a second? Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Brontes?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss?
Yep.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried. For the record, Board Members Brown and Thomas are recused on items 2404-18, 2404-19, 2404-20, and will not comment on the items.
Thank you, Megan. Now ask Jackie to continue presenting those three personal injury claim items, beginning with 2408-18. Jackie.
We are presenting for approval item number 2404-18, personal injury claim of John Horace. Authorization is requested to settle the claim of John Horace through his attorney at an amount discussed in executive session. The Attorney General has approved the proposed settlement, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item number 2404-18.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-18?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussions? Megan, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Board Member Brontes?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss?
Yes.
Board Member Kaniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Jackie, you want to present then 2404-19?
We are presenting for approval item number 2404-19, personal injury claim of Marie Perezon. Authorization is requested to settle the claim of Marie Perezon through her attorney at an amount discussed in executive session. The Attorney General has approved the proposed settlement, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item number 2404-19.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-19?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Brantis?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss? Yes. Board Member Caniff?
Yeah.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. And Jackie, now if you could do the other personal injury claim, 2404-20.
We are presenting for approval item number 2404-20, personal injury claim of the estate of Kevin Milford Sanchez. Authorization is requested to settle the claim of the estate of Kevin Milford Sanchez through the estate's attorney at an amount discussed in executive session. The Attorney General has approved the proposed settlement, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item number 2404-20.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-20?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Brantis?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss? Yes. Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Now I'd like to introduce Mike Kilcoyne, Senior Vice President, Surface Transit and General Manager of Bus Operation, to present item 2404-21 regarding Access Link service. Mike.
Thank you, President Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2404-21, execution of contract 20-084, option period 1 for the provision of Access Link service in Region 4, which is Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, and North Ocean counties. Authorization is requested to exercise the first option period to extend New Jersey Transit's contracts 20-084 with Transdev United States of Lombard, Illinois, formerly known as First Transit Incorporated, of Cincinnati, Ohio, to operate Access Link service in Region 4, Mercer, Middlesex, Monmouth, and North Ocean counties for a 24-month period from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026, at a cost not to exceed $35,121,894, plus 5% for contingencies, for a total contract authorization of $36,877,989, subject to the availability of funds and board approval of New Jersey Transit's operating budget. We ask for your approval of item 2404-21.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-21?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Brantis?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss? Yes. Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried. For the record, Vice Chair Carson is recused from item 2404-22 and will not comment or vote on the item.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I'd now like to introduce Rich Schaefer, Senior Vice President, Capital Programs, to present Board Item 2404-22 regarding a funding agreement between us and Gateway Development Corp. Commission.
Thank you, CEO Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2404-22, resolution authorizing entering into a funding agreement between New Jersey Transit Corporation and the Gateway Development Commission. Authorization is requested to enter into a funding agreement with the Gateway Development Commission, whereby New Jersey Transit would convey to the Gateway Development Commission from funds received from New Jersey Department of the Treasury an amount not to exceed $19,391,467.67 for the purposes of supporting the Gateway Development Commission's fiscal year 2024 budget. We ask for your approval of item 2404-22.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-22?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Brantis?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Weiss?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yeah.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. I'd now ask Rich to present the last action item for today, item 2404-23 regarding light rail vehicle purchase.
Thank you, CEO Corbett. We are presenting for approval item 2404-23, local programs and community mobility purchase of 17 light-duty vehicles. Authorization is requested to approve the use of Michigan Department of Transportation procurement for the purchase of 17 light-duty vehicles for subrecipients of New Jersey Transit's local programs and community mobility department in the amount not to exceed $1.853 million, subject to the availability of funds. We ask for your approval of item 2404-23.
May I have a motion to approve Board Item 2404-23? May I have a second? Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Brontes? Yes. Board Member Morocco? Yes. Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Wise?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff, I'm sorry. Board Member Caniff?
Caniff is yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Cruz is also yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Before we adjourn to executive session, I want to let the public know we will return to adjourn the meeting, but no further business will be conducted. May I have a motion to enter the executive session to discuss personnel matters, contract negotiations, the status of pending and anticipated litigation, and matters fall within the attorney-client privilege, including but not limited to the personal injury claim of Thomas Dugan and the personal injury claim of Kalia Rayborn. May I have a motion to enter to executive session? May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Meg, please take a roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Board Member Brontes?
Yes.
Board Member Morocco?
Yes.
Board Member Medina?
Yes.
Board Member Nara?
Yes.
Board Member Wise?
Yes.
Board Member Caniff?
Yes.
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Vice Chair Carson?
Yes.
Chair O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I hereby reconvene the open session board meeting.
I will now take roll call. Board Member Abrantes? Board Member Morocco?
Here.
Board Member Medina?
Here.
Board Member Nara?
Here.
Board Member Weiss?
Here.
Board Member Cruz?
Here.
Vice Chair Carson?
Here.
Chair O'Connor.
Here. Since there's no other further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, meeting adjourned.